Okay, everybody, just give me a minute. Just shut my door. Door is saying I do it for a reason. Today, we are gonna be going through Jeremiah chapter 40 through 45 and hopefully end at chapter 46. Alright, Jeremiah 3. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for revealing to us the message of your prophet Jeremiah, the reading of your word, past, present, future. Holy Spirit, guide us in this walkthrough as we learn about everything you have for us to know through the prophet Jeremiah. In Jesus' name, amen. Alright. Jeremiah 3. We're starting in chapter 40. Alright. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. The word came to Jeremiah from the Lord at the Nebuzaradan. Remember I talked about that one guy? Here he is, Nebuzaradan, commander of the Imperial Guard. So he's possibly what we call a commander, a captain, or a major. Had released him at Ramah. He released Jeremiah at Ramah. Now Ramah, hold on. Don't say where it is, but he's released it. He had found Jeremiah bound in chains among all the captives from Jerusalem and Judah who were being carried into exile to Babylon. So Jeremiah's still in chains among the captives of Jerusalem and Judah, and they seem to be transporting Jeremiah and his prisoners to Babylon, modern day Iraq. When the commander of the guard found Jeremiah, he said to him, "The Lord your God decreed this disaster for this place." So here, even God knows what's up. God is pouring punishment on those who are persecuting his prophet, Jeremiah. And now the Lord has brought it to me. And now the Lord has brought it about. He has done just as he said he would. All this happened because you people sinned against the Lord and did not obey him. But today I am freeing you from the chains on your wrists. Come with me to Babylon if you like, and I will look after you. But if you do not want to, then don't come. So this officer, if we can call him that, is offering to help Jeremiah escape from custody. He says, "Come with me to Babylon if you like, and I will look after you, but you do not want to. But if you do not want to, then don't come. Look, the whole country lies before you. Go wherever you please. However, before Jeremiah turned to go and liberate the land and had to go back to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, Ahikam, son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon has appointed over the towns of Judah, and live with him among the people, and go wherever else you please. So he's sending. Maybe this is God's way of sending Jeremiah to the people that are being held captive by the king of Babylon. It was God that allowed his people to be taken captive. In fact, he told them, "You are gonna surrender to the king of Babylon, or you're gonna die." And 70 years was their allotted time to serve the king of Babylon. Okay, so this could still be during those 70 years. The commander gave him provisions and a present and let him go. Possibly food and a gift. Then he let Jeremiah go. So Jeremiah went to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah, Ahikam, at Mizpah, and stayed with him among the people who were left behind in the land. So this to me seems like God is allowing even the people who are put in charge of Jeremiah as a prisoner to, help him escape, help him live more luxuriously, because they know he's innocent. I mean, what does an innocent man have to do with changing shackles, right? But sometimes in our prisons, maybe we're put places by God unknowingly. Maybe you can turn a prison into a church. Maybe you can convert the officer of the guard to secretly, well, not secretly, but to serve the Lord. Like Gedaliah, Gedaliah, assassinate. So maybe he got caught trying to help Jeremiah escape. When the army officers and the men who were still in the open country heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, as governor over the land and had him put in charge of the men, women, and children who were the poorest in the land, and who had not been carried into exile to Babylon, they came to Gedaliah at Mizpah. Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, Jopah, Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, Johanian, and Jonathan, sons of Kura, Shariah, son of Tanhumeth, the sons of Ephraim, the Netophathite, and Jaazaniah, the son of the Makathite, and their men. Gedaliah, son of Achim, the son of Shaphan, taken out to reassure them and their men. Do not be afraid to serve the Babylonians, he said. Settle down in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it will go well with you. I myself will stay in Mizpah to present you before the Babylonians who come to us, but you are to harvest wine, summer fruit, and oil, and put them in your storage jars, and live in the towns you were taken over. So what's going on here? Okay, Jeremiah is being given more leeway, and he sent the people living in poverty, and God is basically saying, do not be afraid to serve the Babylonians. He said, settle down in the land and serve the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, modern day Iraq, and it will go well with you. I myself will stay at Mizpah to represent you before the Babylonians who come to us, but you are to harvest the wine. Take care of them, wine and dine them, so to speak, summer fruit and oil. Take care of what you have. Take care of your items, in other words, and put them in your storage jars and store them up, and live in the towns you were taking over. Plunder. Just saying, plunder and take what you want from the king of Babylon. Maybe the point wasn't just to allow Israel to be taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, but to give the king of Babylon over to plunder. He says, I will plunder those who have plundered you. Now, plunder is not the same as stealing. Plunder is if someone was dead, you could legally take their possessions and claim it as your own. That's the difference between stealing something and plundering something. When all the Jews in Moab, Ammon, Edom, and all the other countries heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant of faithful but few soldiers in Judah, and it had appointed Gedaliah, son of Achim, or Hakim, I would say, son of Shaphan, as governor over them. They all came back to the land of Judah to Gedaliah at Mizpah from all the countries where they had been scattered, and they harvested an abundance of wine and summer food. So sometimes I think God can send you into enemy territory to allow you to taste something. Take it from your enemies. God is sort of acting like Robin Hood. He's taking from the rich and giving it to the poor. He's portioning out the needs of his people through Jeremiah. Johanan, Johhanan, son of Kara, Kareah, and all the army officers still in the country came to Gedaliah at Mizpah and said to him, "Don't you know that Baalis, Baalis, king of the Ammonites, has sent Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, N-E-T-H, and I to take your life." So I'm saying someone's coming to kill you. That's what he's saying. Someone's coming to kill you. But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, did not believe them. Yeah, someone's coming to kill me. Right. Sure, pal. Whatever you say. Now, who's this? Sometimes we also gotta look at who the person is. He's a governor over the land. So they're setting up to kill governor to take what God tells them to plunder him and doesn't quite tell him to kill him. He sent Jeremiah to Gedaliah at Mizpah and says, "Someone's coming to kill you." Okay. But Gedaliah, son of Achim, did not believe them. "Yeah, someone's coming to kill me." "Sure, Bill. You had enough of your crazy talk." And Johanan, son of Kara, said privately to Gedaliah in Mizpah, "Let me go and kill Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, and no one will know it. Let me take care of the problem," he's saying. "I'll go and take the problem out, and you won't have to worry about him killing you." Why should he take your life and cause other Jews who are gathered around you to be scattered and the remnant, faithful but few of Judah, to perish? Kill one man, save 1,000 type of deal. But he's saying save God's people by killing this one man. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, said to Johanan, son of Kara, "Don't do such a thing. What are you saying about Ishmael? It's not true." So they're gonna kill him for something that isn't even true. I mean, come on. In the 7th month, Ishmael, okay, the 7th month, doesn't mention it. Okay, so in the 7th month, Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, the son of Elishama, who was of the royal blood and had been one of the king's officers, came with 10 men to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah. While they were eating together there, Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, and the 10 men who were with him got up and struck down Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, with the sword, killed the one whom the king of Babylon had appointed governor over the land. Ishmael also killed all the Jews who were with Gedaliah at Mizpah, as well as the Babylonian soldiers who were there. So he succeeded. He set out to kill the governor to save Judah from demise, and he succeeded. The day after Gedaliah's assassination, before anyone knew about it, 80 men who shaved off their beards, torn their clothes, cut themselves, came to Shechem, Shiloh, and Samaria, bringing grain offerings and incense with them to the house of the Lord. Okay. In Old Testament times, there was a reason why people shaved their heads. And one of the reasons was to show that a vow has been fulfilled. So they took a vow, and they could have taken a vow and shaved their heads and showed that, mission accomplished. So that seems to be one theory about what's going on here. They're killing the governor to benefit the survival of God's people, and they're shaving their heads to show that we completed our mission. We torn their clothes and cut themselves. Came from Shechem, Shiloh, and Samaria, bringing grain offerings and incense with them to the house of the Lord. Okay, the reason why they would usually tear their clothes was out of anger. Back in the old times, if you saw someone tear their clothes, it means they're getting ready to do something. They're gonna act on the situation. They've had enough. They've had all they can take. Okay. Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, went out from Mizpah to meet them, weeping as he went. And so he's walking down, telling the news and crying at the same time. When he met them, he said, "Come to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam." When they went into the city, Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, and the men who were with him slaughtered them and threw them into a cistern, a well. So he's taking care of business. He's not only taking care of business, he's hiding the bodies down the well. But 10 of them said to Ishmael, "Don't kill us. Don't kill us! We have wheat and barley, oil and honey hidden in the field. So he let them alone and did not kill them with the others. Oh, you're gonna pay for your freedom. Okay. Now the cistern or the well, where he threw all the bodies of the men he killed on the Gedaliah, was the one King Asa had made part of his defense at Basra, king of Israel. Oh, well, defense against Basra. So he was fighting the king of Israel. Gedaliah was fighting the king of Israel. So they went in to the camp of the enemy, so to speak, and assassinated and took the plunder. Remember what God says? I will plunder those who plunder you. Speaking of Israel. Okay. Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, filled with the dead. So he fills the cistern, this well, with the dead bodies of those who were trying to defeat Israel. And then he's plundering what they had. Ishmael made captives of all the rest of the people who were at Mizpah. So he took them captive, the king's daughters, along with the others who were left there, over whom Nebuchadnezzar commanded the imperial guard had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam. These people had no fear whatsoever. So what we're reading here is God's allowing the person, basically the governor, to be killed to save Israel. Ishmael. Okay. Ishmael made some captives. He basically holds them hostage. So he's holding the king's daughters hostage and the people of Mizpah who were trying to fight against Israel. He's holding them hostage. They're under arrest, and so to speak. Okay. Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, I think I said that right. Nathaniah took them captive and set out the cross over to the Ammonites. So now they're done with the governor. Now they're moving in to deal blow to the Ammonites. Israel's moving in to do blow to the Ammonites. When Jehohanan, son of Korah, and all the army officers who were with him heard all the crimes Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, had committed, they took all their men and went to fight Ishmael, son of Nathaniah. They caught up with him near the great pool in Gibeon. When all the people Ishmael had with him saw Jehohanan, son of Korah, And the army officers who were with them, they were glad. They were relieved because they knew that their enemies had been dealt with. All the people Ishmael taken captive at Mizpah turned and went over to Jehonan, son of Caleb, but Ishmael, son of Nathaniel, and 8 of his men escaped from Johanan, and fled to the Ammonites. So they seem to be switching sides for some reason. Why? Maybe they basically divide and conquer. I don't know. Flight to Egypt. Then Johanan, son of Caleb, and all the army officers who were with him led away all the survivors from Mizpah, whom he had recovered from Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, after he had assassinated Gedaliah, son of Ahikam. The soldiers, women, children, court officials, servants he had brought from Gibeon, and they went on stopping at Guth Kimham near Bethlehem on their way to Egypt to escape the Babylonians. They were afraid of them because Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, had killed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, whom the king of Babylon had appointed governor over the land. Okay. So what's happened here? Gedaliah was appointed governor, and he planned to overtake Israel, to hurt Israel. So God basically sends people into his camp to kill him and take plunder, take what he has for themselves. God can turn the tables anytime he wishes to. Sometimes where we're put there for a reason. And sometimes bad things have to happen for good things to happen. I mean, you can't fill up your garbage and never take the garbage out. I mean, come on. God will not allow your persecutors to go beyond hurting you. And if he does, there's a lesson behind it. Then all the army officers, including Jehonan, son of Caleb, and Jezaniah, son of Hosea, and all the people from least greatest approached Jeremiah the prophet and said to him, "Please hear our petition and pray to the Lord your God for us, for this entire remnant. Pray for the people that want to serve the Lord. For as you now see, though we were once many, now only a few are left. We were great once, and now we're small. Pray that the Lord your God will tell us where we should go and what should we do. We need the Lord to guide us to where He has us to be, and so to speak. I've heard you, replied Jeremiah the prophet. I will certainly pray to the Lord your God as you have requested. I will tell you everything the Lord says, and will keep nothing back from you. Then he said to Jeremiah, may the Lord be a true and faithful witness against us if we do not act in accordance with everything the Lord God sends you to tell us. So they're saying God's not going to be unfaithful to us. He's going to tell us what we want to know. So we are going to be faithful to Him and obey what He says. Whether it is favorable or unfavorable, we will obey the Lord our God to whom we are sending you so that it will go well with us, for we will obey the Lord our God. There you go. 10 days later, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. So, God makes them wait 10 days to hear what He has to say. God waits for us, waits sometimes to answer our prayers, not to kind of bug us, but to show us patience. There's a time and season for everything. Okay. So 10 days later, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. So he called together Jehonan, son of Kareah, I think Kareah, and all the army officers who were with him, and all the people from least to greatest. He said to them, so he gathered them together to hear what the Lord says regarding to this request of telling them what they should do and where they should go. Here's a response 10 days later. If you stay in this land, I will build you up and not tear you down. I will plant you and not uproot you, for I am grieved over the disaster I have inflicted on you. Do not be afraid of the king of Babylon, whom you now fear. Do not be afraid of him, declares the Lord, for I am with you and will save you and deliver you from his hands. Okay, maybe that was a test all along. Not necessarily the hand, well, it was his attention because they were worshiping false gods. So God says, if you don't knock it off and turn from your false worship, I'm going to hand you over to the king of Babylon. You will serve him for 70 years. Freaking, now you're old, are you ready to listen? Of course, our ears were kind of more back in the day. People used to know they 900 years old. Yeah. Right. I will show you compassion so that he will have compassion on you and restore you to your land. So, okay, your punishment is over. Now you can go home. Could recent events that took place in 1948 with the reestablishment of Israel and the nation kind of give way a little bit? God says in His Word that He will bring the captives home. Why would they be captive to begin with? Why would they deny being a nation to begin with? Because of false worship, the worship of false gods. So God hands them over to the king of Babylon, It says you're gonna serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. They're like, no, we're not gonna do that. No, yeah, you are gonna do that. Or you're gonna die. When you are serving God, your service is not optional. And if you walk away from it, no, don't spend the bed of roses. However, if you say we will not stay in this land and so disobey the Lord your God, then what if you say no, we will go and live with Egypt, where we will not see war or hear a trumpet or be hungry for bread? Then hear the word of the Lord, O remnant of Judah. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. If you are determined to go to Egypt and you do go to settle there, then the sword you fear will overtake you, and the famine you dread will follow you into Egypt. And there you will die. Israel basically told God at this point that, look, we liked it better when we were slaves. Then I don't know what to tell you. Indeed, all determined to go to Egypt to settle there will die by the sword, famine, or plague. Not one of them will survive or escape the disaster I bring on them. Now, do you still want to go to Egypt, Israel? If you go there, you will die. God isn't giving them a choice. And the way He is, you can go to Egypt, you're going to die. A famine, sword, and plague, disease. Not one of them will survive or escape the disaster I will bring on them. Not one will survive. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. As my anger and wrath have been poured out on those who lived in Jerusalem, so will my wrath be poured out on you when you go to Egypt. You will be an object of cursing and horror, and of condemnation and reproach, which means insult. You will never see this place again. Go back to Egypt then. But if you want to go back to Egypt, you can come back here. You want to reject my grace, my compassion, my giving you everything that you need. I even give you a land. Why do you want to go back to being slaves again? But if you do choose to go back to Egypt, you will die there. Period. You'll get sick and you will die. O remnant, now that means faithful but few, O remnant of Judah, we're saying, O few of Judah, the Lord has told you, do not go to Egypt. Be sure of this, I warn you today, that you made a fatal mistake when you sent me to the Lord your God and said, pray to the Lord our God first. Tell us everything He says, and we will do it. I have told you today, but you still have not obeyed the Lord your God and all He sent me to tell you. Why do you even have me ask for God, what God says when you weren't going to listen to him anyway? That's what he's saying to these people. I told you today, but you still didn't have not obeyed the Lord your God, and all he sent me to tell you. So now be sure of this: you will die by the sword, famine, starvation, and plague, which is disease in the place where you want to go to settle. Alright, in other words, you want to go back to Egypt, you want to go back to your bondage, go ahead. I won't stop you. But know this: when you go and you settle in Egypt, the second you cross into that border land, you're done. You're dead. I will take your life like that. Still want to go to Egypt? That's what he's saying to these people. When Jeremiah finished telling the people all the words of the Lord their God, everything the Lord had said him to tell them, Azariah, Azariah, son of Hosea, Hoshaiah, and Jonan, Johanan, son of Kira, and all the proud men, they're puffed up, they're arrogant. Said to Jeremiah, you are lying. So now that Jeremiah tells him what God says, they accuse Jeremiah of being a liar. The Lord thy God has not sent me to say you must not go to Egypt to settle there, but Baruch, Jeremiah's secretary, son of Neriah, is inciting you against us to hand us over to the Babylonians so they may kill us or carry us in that's out to Babylon. So they're not listening to what God is saying to them. They're back at square one. Then God said, no, I'm handing you over to the king of Babylon. You will serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. So Johanan, son of Kira, and all the army officers and all the people disobeyed the Lord's command to stay in the land of Judah. So they left without God's permission, basically. Instead, Jehonan, son of Caleb, and all the army officers led away the remnant faithful with few of Judah, who had come back to live in the land of Judah from all the nations where they had been scattered. They also led away all men, women, and children, and the king's daughters whom Nebuchadnezzar, commander of the imperial guard, had left with Gedaliah, the man who was executed by Israel, son of Hagam, the son of Shaphan, and Jeremiah the prophet, and Baruch, son of Neri, Jeremiah's secretary. So they entered Egypt in disobedience to the Lord and went as far as Tahpanhes. So, you know what we can get out of this? They were suicidal. They wanted to die. Either that or they didn't even believe God's prophets. Prophet Jeremiah. Maybe they just heard what they wanted to hear. And happening is so now that you're here, God says, let me tell you something. And happening is the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah while the Jews are watching. Take some large stones with you and bury them in the clay, in the brick pavement. In the brick pavement at the entrance of village powers at Typhonese. Then say to them, this is what the Lord the God of Israel says, I will send for my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and I will set his throne over these stones I buried here. He will spread his royal canopy above them. He will come and attack Egypt, bringing death to those destined to death and captivity to those destined to captivity, and to those destined for the sword. He will set fire to the temples of the gods, small g false gods of Egypt. He will set fire to the temples and the gods of Egypt, and he will burn their temples and take their gods, multi false gods, take their gods captive. He will plunder them as a shepherd wraps his garment around him, so he will wrap Egypt around himself and depart from there unscathed. So God is basically saying, stay here right now. You disobey me. I'm gonna now hand you over to the king of Egypt. You no longer have to worry about Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Now you're gonna have to worry about Egypt. And could this... And he says, as the shepherd wraps his garment around him, so will he wrap Egypt around himself. He's well guarded and depart from there unscathed. You're not gonna damage him at all. Then the temple of the sun in Egypt, he will demolish the sacred pillars and burn down the temples of the gods of Egypt. So he's basically saying to Israel, now I'm gonna make an example out of you. Don't worry about the king of Babylon no more. Now you're gonna be hostages for the king of Egypt. And could this be the same time where he sent Moses to free Israel from Egypt? It might be, and you might have that timeline as myself, it's just a theory. Okay. Disaster because of idolatry. That's false worship. The Lord came to Jeremiah. All the Jews living in Lower Egypt and Medan, Tahpanhes and Memphis. These areas seem to be within Egypt, towns within Egypt, and in Upper Egypt. So he's sending Jeremiah to these people in these lands. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. You saw the great disaster brought on Jerusalem and all the towns of Judah. Today they lie deserted and in ruins because of the evil they have done. Because they did evil, I laid them out, and so to speak. I punished them. I exiled them for the evil they had done. They provoked me to anger by burning incense and worshiping other gods that neither they nor you nor your fathers ever knew. They're worshiping new false gods at this point, Israel is. Again and again, I sent my servants the prophets, who said, "Do not do this detestable thing that I hate. Do not worship any other God but me, Jehovah, the true God." But they did not listen or pay attention. They did not turn from their wickedness or stop burning incense to other gods. They continued in their false worship. Therefore, my fierce anger was poured out. It raged against the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem, and made them the desolate ruins they are today. So they were wiped out. They were kicked out for a reason. And God allowed them to be exiled for a reason, and that reason was because of false worship. Now, verse 7. Now, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Why bring such a disaster on yourselves by cutting off from Judah the men and women and children and infants, and so leave yourselves without a remnant? He's basically saying, why are you destroying yourselves by your false worship? Why are you oppressing people and not helping them? Why provoke me to anger with what your hands have made, burning incense on the gods in Egypt, where you have come to live? You will destroy yourselves and make yourselves an object of cursing and insult among all the nations on earth. Have you forgotten the wickedness committed by your fathers and by the kings and by the kings and queens of Judah, and the wickedness committed by you and your wives in the land of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? To this day, they have not humbled themselves or shown honor, reverence, nor had they followed my law and the decrees I set before you and your fathers. To this day, you're still worshiping false gods. To this day, you show no honor and reverence to me, your holy God. And listen to the laws I gave to you and your fathers for righteous life. Therefore, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says: I am determined to bring disaster on you and destroy all Judah. I will take away the remnant of Judah who were determined to go to Egypt to settle there. They will perish in Egypt. They will fall by the sword and die from famine. From least to the greatest, they will die by sword and famine. They will become an object of cursing and horror, of condemnation and reproach, insult. I will punish those who live in Egypt with the sword, famine, and plague, as I punished Jerusalem. None of the remnant of Judah who have gone to live in Egypt will escape or survive to return to the land of Judah, to which they long to return and live. None of them will return except a few fugitives. Those of you who disobey me, God is saying, and go back to Egypt, back to the land that I rescued you from bondage. You're gonna die there. None who go there will return except a few fugitives. Now at this point, he's calling Israel fugitives because they're running away from him. They're running away from persecution from the king of Babylon. They're disobeying God by not serving the king of Babylon and fleeing into Egypt. Then all the men who knew that their wives were burning incense unto God, along with all the women who were present in large assembly, and all the people living in Lower and Upper Egypt, said to Jeremiah, we will not listen to the message you have spoken to us in the name of the Lord. Okay, you're right saying you're not going to listen. Alright. We will certainly do everything we said we would. We will burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and will pour out drink offerings to her just as we and our fathers, our kings and our servants of festivals did in the towns of Judah and the church of Jerusalem. At that time we had plenty of food, and we were off and suffered no harm. But ever since we stopped burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have had nothing and have been perishing by the sword and famine. Well, you don't say. Oh, God's not helping you because you're worshiping the Queen of Heaven and false goddess? And there's a shocker there. God is a jealous God. He wants to be number one, and if he's not, he's angry with us. The women added, when we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven and burned out drink offerings to her, didn't our husbands know that we were making cakes like her image, and pouring out drink offerings to her? Then, so they're not ashamed of what they're doing. They're not ashamed of their false worship. In fact, they're bragging about it. Then Jeremiah said to all the people, both men and women who were answering him, did not the Lord remember and think about the incense burned in the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem by you and your fathers, your kings and your servants, officials, and the people in the land. When the Lord could no longer endure your wicked actions and the detestable things you did, your land became an altar to cursing and a desolate, empty waste without inhabitants, as it is today. Because you had burned incense and had sinned against the Lord, and had not obeyed him and followed his laws, decrees, or stipulations, this disaster has come upon you, as you now see. So Jeremiah is basically saying, you brought this disaster on yourself by worshiping false gods. Your country is being laid desolate, being laid to waste because of your false worship. Now God is doing this to Israel. For if ye did not spare the natural branches, Romans 11, he will not spare you either. He's a jealous God. The only way to God the Father is through their Son, Jesus Christ. There's no other way. Then Jeremiah said to all the people, including the women, hear the word of the Lord, all you people of Judah and Israel. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. You and your wives is shown by your actions what you promised when you said, we will certainly carry out the vows we made to burn incense and pour out drink offerings to the Queen of Heaven. Go ahead then. Do what you promised. Keep your vows. But hear the word of the Lord, our Jews living in Egypt. I swear by my great name, says the Lord, that no one from Judah living anywhere in Egypt will ever again invoke my name. I swear, as surely as the sovereign Lord lives. So, in other words, go ahead. Worship false gods. See what I do. I bet I kick your ass. That's what he's saying to Israel. Go ahead. I dare you. I brought you out of bondage in the land of Egypt, and now you want to go back to that same land. Go ahead. Serve the king of Egypt. But just know he's going to be worse than Nebuchadnezzar, worse than the king of Babylon. So go ahead, keep your vows. Do what you promise. But hear the word of the Lord. All Jews living in Egypt, I swear by my great name, says the Lord, that no one from Judah living anywhere in Egypt will ever again invoke my name. I swear. As surely as the sovereign Lord lives. This God's swearing by himself. Do what you're going to do. Worship these false gods, and you'll suffer the consequences. For I am watching over them for harm, not for good. The Jews in Egypt will perish by sword and famine until they are all destroyed. Those who escape the sword and return to the land of Judah from Egypt will be very few. Then the whole remnant of Judah who came to live in Egypt will know whose word will stand. Mine or theirs. Ooh, ooh, ooh. See who's right on this. Go to Egypt. Have fun dying. See if you make it back here. See who's right, me or you. God is saying this and let Israel go their own way. He wants us to go our own way. And that way is to our demise, and that is our choosing. But if it's too late standing on God, he holds his arms out saying, come to me. In fact, if you go even into the New Testament, he says in Romans, all day long I've held my arms out and hands out, like a father reaching out to bring a child home, to an abstinent people, a contrary people, even people I foreknew. This will be a sign to you, verse 29. This will be a sign to you that I will punish you in this place, declares the Lord, so that you will know that my threats of harm against you will surely stand. This is what the Lord says. I am going to hand Pharaoh Hophar, king of Egypt, over to his enemies who seek his life, just as I handed Zedekiah, king of Judah, over to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the enemy who was seeking his life. He's basically saying that he's going to hand them over to their enemies. He's going to hand Israel once again over to their enemies. Well, maybe Israel will learn something. That your actions have got you where you are. Turn from your false worship, serve me, and things will go well for you. If you serve other gods, I'm going to hand you over to your enemies. Why does Israel seem to want to go toward destruction? That's what he's saying. Why? Why go back into bondage? Okay. Chapter 45. And we're going to end at 46. A message to Baruch, the secretary of Jeremiah. This is what Jeremiah the prophet told Baruch, son of Neriah, in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, after Baruch had written on the scroll the words of Jeremiah was then dictated. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says to Baruch. You said, woe to me, the Lord has added sorrow to my pain. I am worn out with groaning and find no rest. Now the Lord is kind of laying it into Jeremiah's secretary. You said, woe to me, the Lord added sorrow to my pain. I am worn out with groaning and crying and find no rest. The Lord said, say this to him. This is what the Lord says. I will overthrow what I built and uproot what I planted throughout the land. Should you then seek great things for yourselves? Seek them not. For I will bring disaster on all people, declares the Lord. But wherever you go, I will let you escape with your life. He's saying, I'm punishing them, not you. Even though it seems like I am not punishing you, I'm punishing Israel for their false worship. And wherever you go, I'll let you escape with your life. I will overthrow what I built, talking about Israel, and uproot what I planted, talking about Israel, throughout the land. So now he's telling Israel that he's going to uproot them from their land. Because why? Because of their false worship. Seek them. Should I not seek great things? Should you then seek great things for yourself? Seek them not. Don't seek good things in the land that I am about to destroy. What's the matter with you? For I will bring disaster on all people, declares the Lord. But wherever you go, I will let you escape for your life. I'm not after you, God says. I'm after Israel. Go where you wish to go. you will escape with your life. Okay, tomorrow we will do 46 to 50, possibly 46 to 50. And then finish within a day or two. Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessing to us, to your word, and Prophet Jeremiah. Pray to our lives, past, present, and future. Holy Spirit, allow these verses to speak to our hearts and be applied into our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.